Hello from Atlanta. I'm Advocate Sports columnist Scott Rabalais with our LSU football beat writer Brooks Kubena. We're here reporting from the Peach Bowl. This video report is sponsored by Hancock Whitney Bank. Today was the first time we got to talk to the LSU coaches and a couple of players since they arrived here in Atlanta on Sunday night. Brooks, of course, the news of the day was how is Clyde Edwards-Helaire and his hamstring, and Ed Orgeron addressed that right off the bat.
He did. Officially, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is day-to-day. Ed Orgeron last week felt that he didn't really know what it was going to be, and he said he feels a lot better about Clyde's status now. He's off crutches, he's off his scooter. They're actually going to try him out tomorrow and during Tuesday's practice, which we'll get to see in the first 15 minutes and see how he's doing. But he said he has a chance to play, but he doesn't know that yet. So that still means that the three running backs behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire are getting prepared for that option to play against Oklahoma. Those guys, Tyrion Davis-Price, John Emery, two true freshmen who were top 10 recruits last year in 2019 cycle, and also Chris Curry, who had some playing time last year and is there today. Ed Orgeron talked about those guys, not all as versatile as Clyde is, and that's one of the things that's very good about him. He had 50 catches, which is tied for the record at LSU school history, but John Emery is kind of the lightning to Ty Davis-Price's thunder, and it may factor into how they prepare for this game, but Ed Orgeron said they're not just going to be as predictable as you might think, running the same kind of plays with those running backs in. But that's obviously the biggest news on LSU's end to keep an eye on throughout this week.
You know, Ed is pretty open as far as coaches go in terms of injuries.
Yeah.
He's also a little optimistic sometimes. The fact that he said Clyde was on crutches and on one of those little scooter things, does that speak to the severity of the injury that he suffered last week? And do you think, doesn't it sound like, it sounds to me like it's going to be hard for him to get back by Saturday?
People I've talked to have said hamstrings are tricky. Getting back to him in 10 days, I guess it would be since the injury. But others I've talked to say if anybody can do it, they feel like Clyde is one of those guys that will kind of push toward that. So there's optimism and there's also realism. But there's also the thought that the Oklahoma game, what's there for there, and what do you have with the running backs remaining? LSU still remains a two-score favorite without Clyde. So whether that factors into whether you want to risk more injury towards him or not, I'm sure there will be a decision all the way leading up until game day.
Part of the reason LSU is still a two-touchdown favorite is Oklahoma has had some losses as well. Lincoln Riley, the Oklahoma coach, confirming what has been reported, the 3 suspensions for defensive tackle Ronnie Perkins, leads the team with 6 sacks. Running back Ramondre Stevenson, he's the third leading rusher, and Trajan Bridges, he's a down-the-line receiver. He has a few catches as a freshman. And then Delaran Turner-Yell, the number 2 tackler with 75 tackles, is starting strong safety. He's also probably out with a collarbone injury. So Oklahoma, obviously Clyde's a big concern for LSU, but they've had more than their share of issues as well.
Yes, and the defensive misses are the biggest ones for Oklahoma. You knew about their offense, how big they were, but it was their defensive switch from last year to this that made them a championship contender. And going up against one of the top offenses in the country in LSU, they needed every guy that they had, especially a starting safety. That would be a big deal there, covering the many diverse wide receivers that LSU has. So big losses for the Sooners.
Turner-Yell, 75 tackles, his backup, 5 tackles. So that kind of tells you right there. Tomorrow, we get the coordinators and more players. We assume we'll talk to Joe Burrow, the Heisman winner, for the first time. The team's practice, LSU's practicing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We'll have more reports for you from here in Atlanta. So once again, thank you for watching our video report from the Peach Bowl, sponsored by Hancock Whitney Bank.